She walked into that courtroom as if it were her personal stage, grinning and rolling her eyes like the whole process was some twisted performance. At just 25, she carried herself with the arrogance of a celebrity fresh from a spotlight, not a defendant accused of one of Wisconsin's darkest crimes. She sneered at the proceedings, insisted her mind wasn't clear, and threw out every excuse she could muster to dodge accountability. Every move she made was calculated, a performance meant to win her freedom. But then came the moment that tore down her facade entirely, erasing that smug expression in an instant. This is the haunting story of Taylor Schabusiness, a woman who believed she could fake insanity to hide a savage murder and the horrific mutilation that followed. The crime was so shocking, it sent waves of fear through the entire community. And just wait until you hear the chilling things she admitted in her own words.
So I took a chain, I put it around his neck, and I asked him again, where my at? He didn't respond, his face turned purple, there was blood coming out of his mouth.
You ever love something so much that you kill it? Like, it happens to me. That's the feeling that I have. I love something so much that I kill it. Like, I love it so much, and then I kill it. That's what happens to me.
This is the story of Taylor Schabusiness, the way her outrageous conduct in court transformed an already horrific crime into one of the most unsettling legal spectacles we've seen in years.
Is this blood? Does this look like blood to you? Or am I just tripping? Bloody footprint?
Could possibly be blood.
No footprints on the passenger side.
Hey, who did that? Hi, Taylor. You got blood on your hands here too.
No, on your hands.
Nobody's armed?
Nobody's armed.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Well, they found a kind of disturbing stuff at the house there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of blood. Basically Shad's head. Yeah. That's pretty.
I know.
What'd you do with the body?
The body's there.
So we're gonna take the head somewhere?
I like that.
You liked it?
Well, you're gonna have fun trying to look for all the organs, but yeah, they're all dismembered. Yeah.
So you dismembered the body too?
Yeah.
And what did you do with the body parts? Basement, upstairs, downstairs?
Absolutely in the basement. I was gonna bring them with them. And then, I know I forgot the head. I wanted the head.
Did you bring anything with you?
Yeah, it's in the van.
What?
It's in the van. It's, what is it? I think a foot, maybe.
The what?
I think it's a foot.
A foot in the van?
A leg, maybe. I don't know. I'm like, I'm gonna bring it all, but then I'm like, man, this is messy, so I just left it. I got lazy.
Okay.
If you're unfamiliar with this case, prepare yourself. What you're about to learn will redefine how you view the depths of human cruelty. Before we unravel the disturbed psyche of Taylor Schabusiness and the horrific crime that rattled Wisconsin, don't forget to subscribe to Mr. Owl, where we expose the darkest female criminal stories the mainstream refuses to cover. And trust me, this one is only the beginning. To make sense of what unfolded inside that Green Bay courtroom, we have to go back to the events that shaped Taylor's life. She was born in Chicago to parents who appeared caring from the outside, but everything changed when Taylor was just 11. Her mother, Mara, passed away suddenly in her sleep, her father waking to find his wife lifeless beside him as the children slept upstairs, unaware that their entire world had just shattered.
She was doing really well there too, until her boyfriend/husband got out of jail. That turned everything upside down.
Yeah. In part because of the methamphetamine use, right?
Yep. No, meth, heroin, whatever else. I don't know.
Marijuana?
Yeah, I don't know. The kid was already doing that shit before and was just a fucking loser, and he got my daughter involved in that shit.
The family eventually moved to Green Bay, and that's when the cracks in Taylor's behavior began to show. She started getting into trouble at school, acting out in ways that looked like ordinary teenage rebellion, but were actually early signs of something far darker brewing beneath the surface. By the time she was 16, her father was so alarmed that he sent her to live with her grandparents in Texas, a move that briefly steadied her life. She finished high school, seemed more grounded, and for a moment, things looked hopeful. When Taylor returned to Wisconsin as an adult, it appeared she was finally on the right track. She secured steady work on the third shift at the Saputo cheese factory, kept her own apartment, and earned good money. Her father felt proud, believing the once troubled teenager had turned into a stable, responsible woman. Then Warren Schabusiness was released from jail. Warren, Taylor's ex-husband, was the one who introduced her to method decision that would ignite the downward spiral of her life. And according to her father's later testimony, the change in her was instant and horrifying.
We launched onto the bed. We went from the stairs to the bed, and then, yeah.
But before you chain went around his neck, were you and Chad like kissing or any foreplay or anything?
No, we were chilling at home.
You just chilling. So all of a sudden, the chain went around his neck?
Taylor quit her job and slipped deeper into addiction, using drugs intravenously and transforming into someone her father no longer recognized, a totally different person wearing my daughter's face, he later said. But the darkness consuming her went far beyond substance abuse. Court documents revealed she had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and psychosis at just 14, with repeated hospital stays and a long history of refusing treatment and instability that would play a critical role in what unfolded next. By February 2022, Taylor's life had become pure chaos. She was wearing an ankle monitor from earlier charges, drifting between friends' homes, and spending most of her time in an East Side apartment with a man named Scott Tomes. Her unstable world was about to collide with someone from her past in the most nightmarish way imaginable. Chad Thurian, age 24, had known Taylor since middle school. Their relationship had always been inconsistent, sometimes dating, sometimes just friends who hooked up occasionally. He battled his own mental health challenges, but remained deeply loved by his family, especially his mother, Tara. February 21st began like dozens of nights in their circle. Taylor was at Scott's apartment when their friend AJ called, wanting to chill. The three met up, then drove Scott's minivan to Chad's father's house to pick him up. Afterward, they made one stop that would spark the tragedy, buying methamphetamine. Back at Scott's place, the group smoked marijuana and injected meth, settling into what felt like another drug-fueled routine. But around midnight, everything changed. Taylor and Chad decided to his mother's house on Stony Brook Lane. AJ stayed behind an innocent choice that likely saved his life. What took place next in Tara's basement would horrify investigators around the world. When they arrived, the house was still. Tara slept upstairs with her boyfriend, unaware that her son had walked in with the person who would soon take his life. The basement door was unlocked, a small detail that would become crucial once Taylor made her next move.
He likes it.
Alright.
I was gonna walk him like a dog.
And he wanted that?
I have no idea. Well, I was gonna do it anyway.
Okay. And you claim it was his idea? With the chain?
Obviously mine. No, it was his idea. It was all him.
But this wasn't a moment of intimacy spiraling out of control. According to Taylor's own chilling confession, what happened was deliberate, premeditated, and far more sinister than anyone first imagined.
You said play with them, what do you mean?
Play with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I put him up over the bed, and then stuck it.
Okay.
And then I had it.
Okay. What did you do?
I put it in his mouth, put it in his...
Okay.
Put it back. Put it back.
You said that she played with this
Yeah.
after he was dead.
Oh yeah.
Was it erect?
It was half.
Taylor placed a metal dog chain around Chad's neck and yanked it with full force. He started to gasp, thrashing as he desperately fought for breath for his life.
Pissed off at the dismemberment process, actually.
Did it take a while? It took a while.
Yeah, because like I was nodding out. So
I guess you're kind of sleeping, kind of nodding in and out. Have you taken any other drugs?
I should have took drugs. I probably would have helped, but I didn't.
That admission says it all. Taylor Schabusiness chose deliberately and with full awareness to keep choking Shad Therian long after she realized her actions were fatal. This wasn't a moment of panic or emotional collapse. It was intentional, calculated killing, and once Shad was gone, Taylor didn't seek medical help or try to revive him. Instead, she spent the next 2 to 3 hours doing something so disturbing it would shock even veteran investigators. She interacted with his lifeless body.
I got the head. I wanted the head.
Did you bring anything with you?
Yeah, it's in the van.
What?
It's in the van. It's, what is it? A foot, maybe. I think it's a foot.
A foot in the van?
A leg, maybe. I don't know. I'm like, I'm gonna bring it all, and then I'm like, man, this is messy, so then I just left it. I got lazy.
She confessed to violating Shad's body, using objects in ways meant to degrade him even after he had died, treating his remains as if they were something she could control and manipulate. But Taylor's actions didn't stop there. What came next stunned even the investigators handling the case. She went upstairs to Terrera's kitchen, collected multiple knives, and returned to the basement. There, she began the slow, deliberate process of cutting apart Shad's body, an act that unfolded over hours and showed a level of intention completely at odds with any suggestion that she wasn't aware of what she was doing.
I have no clue what's happening with my girl. Swears that she's found her severed head of her son in the basement.
Did you go down there?
In a bucket. I went down, I can't tell what the fuck it is. Pardon my language, I'm kind of a little freaked out.
Did she just wake up and say that?
Yeah.
Whose head is it?
She's claiming it's her son.
How old is her son?
24, 25. Oh, what the hell, man?
Do you think she's hallucinating, or do you think that...
I don't think so. I went down and there's something in the damn bucket. I can't, I don't know, man. She's a little freaked out and kind of freaking me out.
So can you tell me what's going on?
Pretty positive my son's head is in a bucket, a young bucket in my basement.
What makes you think that?
Because I looked in the bucket.
What did you see?
Exactly what I told you.
Where's the rest of the body at?
No idea. He was here a couple hours, then he left with Taylor. And they met some big Taylor.
Who's that?
Girl. Taylor Coronado. And then I heard my door and her minivan start. And I went downstairs and I went to the bathroom. The lights were out in the basement. And I went and turned them off and I looked around and I was there. So then when I turned around to come back upstairs, there was a 5-gallon bucket with a towel over it. And I'm like, oh great, that's why they're down here all day yesterday. They were pissing in a bucket. And I looked, and that is not what was in that bucket.
What is your son's name?
Shad Therian.
I mean, you're sure it couldn't be like a fake head or something?
I'm not touching it. I'm not looking at it again.
Okay.
She later described her actions in a jailhouse call, recounting details so disturbing that even experienced investigators struggled to comprehend them. Taylor arranged Shad's body in a deliberate manner and used kitchen knives to remove his head, placing it in a container she had set below. From there, she continued cutting apart the rest of his body in a methodical, organized fashion. She separated limbs, opened sections of the torso, and placed various parts into individual plastic bags. According to the medical examiner, the level of precision and time required for this type of dismemberment indicated hours of focused, intentional work. In the middle of this process, Taylor was unexpectedly interrupted. Tara came downstairs carrying her cat, prompting Taylor to hurriedly cover what she was doing. Tara placed the cat down and then went back upstairs, completely unaware of what was taking place just a few feet away.
There was a human head. There was genitalia in the bucket.
What do you mean genitalia?
What I would recognize as a penis and testicles.
And were they laying underneath the head?
They were visible after the head was removed, yes.
Taylor later recounted that she took multiple breaks throughout the dismemberment, even drifting off to sleep at times before waking and continuing her work. The kitchen knives she used became increasingly dull from the strain. Investigators later observed that one serrated bread knife had been worn down so severely its teeth were almost smooth. Still, Taylor kept going, driven by something far more deliberate than a moment of drug-induced confusion. Her intention had been to collect every part of the remains and eliminate all evidence, but exhaustion and the overwhelming extent of what she had set out to do began to derail her plan.
Did you both see this?
I opened the towel, I picked up the towel and dropped it because I don't know what it is, man. I have bad vision, and she's like, is that what I think it is? I'm like, I don't know what
Do you want to just stay with those two? I'll just go see what.
Yeah. So,
Where's it at?
go right there. Look right, there's a bucket with a towel on it. I went down there because I heard the door.
Just keep an eye on those two.
She uttered a line that investigators would later view as a key insight into her unraveling. Taylor left Shad's head behind in the basement, still sitting in the bucket where she had placed it. She loaded a few of the remains into Scott's minivan, but left most of the evidence scattered at the house, an oversight that would ultimately lead to her arrest. On the drive back to Scott's apartment, Taylor revealed everything she had done and began frantically brainstorming ways to get rid of what was left. But the clock was moving far quicker than she realized. While Taylor plotted on the east side of Green Bay, Tara was waking up on the west side with a gnawing feeling that something wasn't right. Shad wasn't answering his phone. An unfamiliar odor drifted through the house, and when Tara went to use the basement bathroom, she spotted a bucket she knew hadn't been there before. The 911 call she made moments later would go on to be remembered as one of the most haunting recordings in Wisconsin law enforcement history.
Nothing. Hey. Is this blood? Does this look like blood to you? Or am I just tripping? Bloody footprint? You see this right here?
Could possibly be blood.
No footprints on the passenger side.
Hey, who did that?
Hi.
Hi, Taylor. How's it going? Officer Russell with the Green Bay Police Department.
Take your hand out of your pocket, please. Thank you.
Just make sure you ain't got nothing on you here. With Taylor.
Contact you, Taylor.
Taylor, you have a warrant for your arrest. Just put your hands behind your back quick.
Anybody else in your apartment?
You got blood on your hands here too.
No, on your hands.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to.
What apartment is
What apartment are you in?
Do we have Adam 3 come up?
Hey, customer, get up here.
On the double.
Which apartment?
One, there's what they came back to.
Yeah, go. Guys, hurry up and get here now.
Guys, it's the window right to your right.
Watch this window right here. Gun point. Go in here. Come to the back of the apartment. That's where we are. You, come over here. 2 more will be fine. If 84 is here.
Hands up!
They have contact with the mail.
Hands up! Walk out towards me.
Have a seat.
All the traffic. Come out towards me. Get on the ground.
Who else is in the apartment? Be straight up. Tomes?
Hands up.
Who else? Just Tomes? Is he armed?
Move now.
Nobody's armed?
Nobody's armed.
You sure?
I'm sure.
What's going on here?
Green Bay Police! If anybody's in here, announce yourself now!
No, there's nobody in there.
Go ahead. Negative, we got enough here.
When officers first arrived, they were doubtful. The idea of finding a head in a bucket sounded like an exaggeration straight out of a horror film. But when they lifted the towel draped over the container, the reality struck them with a force none of them were prepared for. What they saw would stay with them for the rest of their careers. Detective Philip Scanland later took the stand to describe what had been inside that bucket, his testimony reflecting the weight of what the officers uncovered that day.
They took him out! Woo!
This was not an act of impulsive brutality, it was intentional degradation. As investigators worked through a crime scene unlike anything they had encountered before, Taylor was on the other side of town, completely unaware that everything was falling apart around her. She had no idea the police had discovered the basement. She didn't realize they had already linked her to Shad. She still believed she had time to get rid of what remained and vanish. She could not have been more mistaken.
Do you know Shad? And how do you know Shad?
He's my ex.
He's your ex-boyfriend?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they found a kind of disturbing stuff at the house there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of blood. Basically Shad's head. Yeah.
Within just a few hours, investigators had pieced together the link between Shad and Taylor. They were aware of Scott's minivan, had confirmed Taylor's location, and moved quickly. Body camera footage shows officers pulling up to the Eastman Avenue apartment complex in the early morning of February 23rd. Almost immediately, they noticed details that would ultimately lock in the case against Taylor evidence visible before they even stepped inside.
We were gonna have fun trying to look for all the organs, but yeah, they're all dismembered.
Well, what did you do with the body parts?
They're in the house.
Somewhere?
They're like,
Basement, upstairs, downstairs?
Absolutely in the basement. I was gonna bring them. Got lazy. I was getting pissed off at the dismemberment process, actually.
Did it take a while? It took a while?
Yeah, because I was nodding out.
The blood marked her hands and clothes, yet she seemed strangely almost eerily composed considering what had happened. But it was her behavior in the patrol car that offered the clearest early look into a mindset that seemed either deeply unstable or disturbingly controlled. Body camera footage recorded Taylor murmuring to herself, laughing at odd moments, and making strange, disconnected remarks as officers drove her to the station.
Started. Told it. How long did it take for him to die?
Like, 3 to 5 minutes, maybe. But, I don't know. I have no idea.
You realize that by continuing that may kill him?
Like, yeah, because I felt bad because I'm like, damn, he's going to be losing after this. I'm like, might as well just kill it.
Okay. So you realize that by continuing that you may actually kill him then?
I swear to God, he was telling me, just do it. So I'm like, wow. And I did it.
Have you used what we call props?
All of them.
And you also said that you enjoyed it, right? And I enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah. What'd you enjoy about that?
Just.
Was it kind of thrilling, a rush, exciting? What was the feeling that you got out of it?
That's all it is. Like, this is the thing that I have, like, I've always had, like, you ever love something so much that you kill it? Like, it happens to me, that's the feeling that I have. I love something so much that I kill it. Like, I love it so much, and then I kill it. That's what happens to me. So,
At one moment during the ride, she abruptly brought up Kyle Rittenhouse, the teenager, recently acquitted in a major Wisconsin case. The comment hinted that she might already be thinking about courtroom strategies and possible defenses. It raised the central question that would overshadow everything that followed. Was Taylor Schabusiness experiencing an actual psychological collapse, or was she carefully constructing her narrative from the start? Once at the police station, Taylor was read her Miranda rights and agreed to talk. What unfolded next became one of the most extensive and unsettling confessions investigators had ever recorded.
At the house right now, there's, you know what a medical examiner is? They're the ones that kind of like take care of people that died and see how they died. And so, they have a bunch of questions for us that we really can't answer. And the biggest questions that they have is exactly how did you dismember Shad? Did you cut arms, or was it just internal organs, or?
So you started on the head, right?
yeah, and then I don't know where I went from there. I just wanted to.
Did you cut it, or did you remove his arms? Yeah. Okay, can you show me where you would cut on the arms? at the elbows? Was this part of the arm left on?
You gotta go in that blue bed.
Okay, look.
Yeah.
But you know that you cut off at the elbows? Yeah. Okay, you cut both arms off at the elbows?
I would hope so. Because like I was saying that dismemberment process I did was like really messed up because like I was nodding out. And then I was like sawing it off.
Did you use just a knife?
Just a knife, so like.
For hours, Taylor spoke with an unsettling calm, walking investigators through each step of what she had done. She described the killing, the violations that followed, and the dismemberment with the casual, almost routine tone someone might use when explaining an ordinary errand.
Saying on my name that I've killed more than one, but man, I'm trying to work on this appeal, and get out.
The most unsettling moment arrived when investigators pressed her to explain why she had done it. Her remark, "You ever love something so much that you kill it," would go on to be remembered as one of the most haunting lines ever spoken in a Wisconsin criminal case. But investigators still needed clarity. The medical examiner required specific information about how the dismemberment had been carried out, and only Taylor could fill in those gaps.
One witness, we're asking for sequestration, but that may be a moot point.
All right.
It is one witness, Your Honor.
However, the medical examiner later testified that the dismemberment showed signs of structured, almost anatomical precision. The torso had been divided cleanly, the limbs separated at natural points, and internal components sorted into individual bags. This raised deeply troubling questions. How did Taylor know how to do this? Had she practiced? Was there prior experience investigators didn't yet know about? Taylor insisted this was her first killing, but she added one comment that investigators found impossible to ignore.
Stop it. Stop it.
Most recent one, when my attorney, he was calling my and he was saying I need another competency here, and he kept on calling my sticking his tongue out at me, and so I went off on his. But the one before that, he was doing the same thing too, saying like about competency. He kept on saying you need more competency hearings. You need more competency hearings. They constantly keep on saying that, and I said no, I'm straight. I'm straight. My dad showed up in the back of the courtroom, and then as soon as he popped through, that was my dad's previous attorney too, and then he had just fired his. He said get this guy off your case. So then, as soon as my dad popped up in the courtroom and he sat his down, I already knew it was go time, and that's when I had to go in. So then that's when I went in and I fired it.
After giving her confession, Taylor was formally charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault. The charges meant she was facing the possibility of life in prison with no chance of release. But Taylor had a strategy, one that would transform her courtroom appearances into a spectacle designed to make her seem completely detached from reality. From the moment she first stepped into court, her behavior seemed theatrical. She smiled at inappropriate moments, made exaggerated facial expressions toward the cameras, and appeared to revel in the attention. The question hung over every proceeding: was this genuine mental instability or a carefully constructed act? The evidence increasingly suggested the latter. Before jury selection even began, courtroom cameras captured Taylor, forming finger guns and pretending to shoot Judge Thomas Walsh, repeatedly pointing at him as if testing boundaries. On another occasion, she flipped him off. These weren't the signs of a mind in free fall. They looked like intentional displays meant to provoke. But the most startling moment came on July 11, 2023. In the middle of a routine pretrial hearing, Taylor suddenly lunged at her own defense attorney, turning the courtroom into chaos and ensuring that her performance would be impossible to ignore. Courtroom footage captures her suddenly launching herself across the defense table, going after the very attorney assigned to represent her. Deputies immediately intervened, pulling her back and gaining control as the judge ordered the room cleared. Taylor was taken to the ground and restrained as the chaos unfolded. This wasn't an isolated outburst, far from it. Several public defenders had previously withdrawn from her case, each citing her escalating aggression and unpredictable behavior as the reason they could no longer continue.
You ever love something so much that you kill it?
When questioned later about these explosive incidents, Taylor's response offered a telling glimpse into her mindset.
And did you notice anything odd about Taylor as far as her mannerisms, her eyes, her speech, anything like that?
No.
Did you have any feelings that she was acting weird when you had contact with her? Bizarre?
She claimed she was fully capable of standing trial, yet at the same time insisted her actions were the result of severe mental illness. The contradiction became a pivotal issue. A defendant cannot be both competent and legally insane. If you're interested in how female offenders use mental health narratives to influence legal outcomes, make sure you follow Mr. Owl. We break down the psychology and strategy behind the most complex criminal cases. The trial opened on July 24, 2023. The prosecution laid out a simple, direct argument. This was a planned killing, followed by intentional mutilation. The defense countered that Taylor's mental state was so impaired she could not be held legally responsible. The prosecution introduced overwhelming evidence, body camera footage from the arrest, Taylor's own detailed statements to investigators, and images from the scene so troubling that some jurors had to avert their eyes. But the most damaging evidence was Taylor's own voice, played aloud in the courtroom, recounting her actions with chilling clarity.
It's really, really unusual, and I searched my own 32-year memory bank here, and it's exceptionally unusual.
Dr. Collins described Taylor's facial expressions as smirky and weird grinning, not enjoyment, but psychosis symptoms.
Very unusual. She's been described as smirky. Smirky. She has inappropriate, her grinning, weird grinning. When she's talking about the crimes, people have interpreted it to be like laughing at what she did. At times, in the jail, with evaluators, with me, at times, briefly, it's very strange. Other times looking, I can mimic it, very scowly. A lot of people interpret it superficially to be grinning. Grinning it all, but getting a kick out of everything. Not me. Based on my experience and training, that's a psychotic person right there. That's what's causing this really weird, bizarre. And I'm telling you.
Medical examiner Dr. Vincent Tranchida delivered his testimony in precise, clinical terms. He outlined the injuries: a full separation of the head, numerous sharp force wounds, signs of extended strangulation, and evidence that the dismemberment required many hours of continuous work. The prosecution then called A.J. Gannon to the stand. He testified that, on the night before the killing, both Taylor and Shad appeared completely normal. There were no visible signs of mental instability, no erratic behavior, and nothing that suggested the violence that would follow.
I was on the run in Texas after having my baby taken. I decided to make things right and clear up north. When I got back, they put my on the bracelet. I went to buy a bag on the low, so I went to my ex, who was a Satan disciple, and family, we all Latin kings, so we beeping. We don't with SDs. I gave him $100 for the bag, and the bag was $50. He pocketed the cash. Me and him and another homie all soaked up, and then my homie left, and I went to drop off my ex, and he wanted before I left. So I went into the basement, and he went and pulled out 2 chains. I asked him, where my money at, fool? And he said, I ain't got it. So I took a chain, I put it around his neck, and I asked him again, where my at? He didn't respond. His face turned purple. There was blood coming out of his mouth. So I laid down on the bed and to listen to his heartbeat, and I said, damn, this motherfucker's still beating. I went upstairs to grab a kitchen knife. I went back downstairs, took off his pants. I sucked his cut his head off at the same time, because the only SD that I would ever be doing would be sucking. Then I chopped his off and concealed the crime.
The defense responded with their own experts, portraying Taylor as profoundly mentally ill. Dr. Deborah Collins, a forensic psychologist, testified that Taylor had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder accompanied by psychotic symptoms.
As follows, we, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information, dated this date, July 26, 2023, signed by the foreperson. Second verdict reads as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of mutilating a corpse as charged in count 2 of the information, dated this date, July 26, 2023, signed by the foreperson. The next verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of third-degree sexual assault as charged in count 3 of the information, dated this date, 26th day of July, 2023, signed by the foreperson.
Dr. Collins explained that Taylor's odd expressions in court, the smirks, the exaggerated grins, were not signs of amusement or pleasure. Instead, she interpreted them as manifestations of psychosis, behaviors consistent with someone experiencing severe mental disturbance.
I have to consider the gravity of the offense, the character of the defendant, the need to protect the public, as well as other aggravating and mitigating circumstances, including rehabilitative needs and punishment and deterrence, and then craft a sentence in each case that's appropriate. The defendant's character, I can say that over the course of this case, I've learned a great deal about you, Ms. Schabusiness. First of all, you were born in Chicago, lived there until you were about age 10, or 12 rather. You seem to have had a stable childhood. You were loved by your mother and your father and your brother. And unfortunately, your mother passed away when you were 12, your brother passed away in a vehicle accident, and your dad's incarcerated.
He acknowledged her difficult childhood, mental health struggles, and trauma history, but he also addressed the brutal reality of her crime.
The list of superlatives don't seem to measure up to what you see and what you hear about, and what we heard about in the trial. This crime offends human decency, it offends human dignity, and it offends the human community. It really does.
The defense claimed that Taylor's drug use had intensified an underlying mental illness, creating the perfect storm that led to the killing. But the prosecution had devastating counter-arguments. If she were truly insane, they asked, how could she attempt to hide the crime so carefully? How could she carry out complex, organized actions for hours? How could she deliver clear, consistent, highly detailed confessions afterward? Then there was her courtroom behavior. During recesses, cameras recorded Taylor laughing at comments from her attorney. When autopsy evidence was discussed, she smirked. When the judge ruled against her, she made exaggerated, mocking expressions. Nothing about her behavior resembled someone lost in psychosis. It looked like someone treating the trial as entertainment. The most damning moment came during AJ's testimony. As he described the last time he saw Shad alive, Taylor appeared noticeably amused. While a witness recounted her victim's final moments, Taylor Schabusiness was smiling. The prosecution emphasized this moment, and the impact on the jury was unmistakable. Defense experts continued presenting Taylor's long history of mental health struggles, childhood trauma, her mother's death, psychiatric hospitalizations. They argued that untreated illness combined with substance abuse had created a person incapable of understanding her actions. Dr. Matthew Seal of the Wisconsin Forensic Unit even concluded she was not criminally responsible. But Dr. Seal's assessment came with complications. Taylor had been evasive during testing, giving inconsistent answers and displaying clear signs of malingering, exaggerating, or faking symptoms when it could benefit her legally. The prosecution seized on this pattern. If she were truly incapacitated, they argued, how could she manipulate evaluations so effectively? Across the trial, a pattern emerged. Taylor's demeanor shifted depending on who was watching and what outcome she wanted. When it could help her case, she acted erratic. When she needed to appear stable, she suddenly became articulate and focused. The adaptive nature of her behavior suggested strategy, not psychosis. The turning point came when prosecutors played a jailhouse recording not from immediately after the murder, but from 2023. While awaiting trial, Taylor had written her own account of the events in a poem-like format and read it aloud, her voice flat and emotionless. This recording showed a woman fully aware of her actions, rehearsing them, shaping them, and presenting them with chilling composure.
Definitely insane. You know, I should have went back to Chicago. I should have went down south. But I didn't do that. I stayed up north. I stayed around in Green Bay. I went back to where my bracelet was at, and to like continue going to work, and then continue on from there. But instead, like, I just smoked up with my roommate, and that was that.
This wasn't the scattered speech of someone lost in delusion. It was a controlled, deliberate retelling by a person who recalled every moment and displayed zero remorse. After hearing all the evidence, the jury needed very little time to reach a conclusion. They returned with decisive, immediate verdicts as follows.
I'm voluntarily dismiss the no merit and extend the time to file a post-conviction motion.
Taylor showed no reaction as the verdicts were announced. No tears, no shock, no hint of disappointment, only the same vacant expression she had worn from the start. But under Wisconsin law, the trial wasn't over. A second phase was required to decide whether she had a mental disorder that prevented her from understanding her actions were wrong. This phase lasted just a single day. The jury heard the same witnesses, reviewed the same evidence, and listened to the same arguments now, through the lens of legal sanity. Their conclusion was unanimous. No, Taylor Schabusiness was legally sane when she killed Shadarian. She understood exactly what she was doing, and she did it anyway. For the first time since her arrest, the mask slipped. When the sanity verdict was read, her smirk vanished. Her confidence wavered. The reality of spending the rest of her life in prison, with no chance of release, finally broke through. Still, Taylor couldn't resist one last act of defiance. As deputies escorted her out, she turned toward the cameras and mouthed something no one could clearly make out: profanity, a threat, or simply another attempt to seize control of the moment. Whatever it was classic Taylor Schabusiness, always trying to shape the narrative, always needing the final word. 3 months later came sentencing. Judge Thomas Walsh finally had the opportunity to address the woman who had disrupted his courtroom and shaken an entire community. He noted the hardships she had endured, the unstable childhood, the long-standing mental health issues, the trauma woven throughout her life. But he also made it clear that none of it could erase the sheer brutality of what she had done. The outcome was unavoidable: life in prison with no chance of parole. Taylor showed no reaction as the sentence was handed down. The same woman who had smirked, laughed, and mocked the proceedings now sat motionless, her expression frozen, as the judge declared she would spend the rest of her life behind bars. But Taylor's story didn't end in that courtroom. In later jailhouse interviews, she continued to push the narrative she had relied on from the beginning, insisting she was mentally unstable despite the jury's clear rejection of that claim. Her defiance remained intact.
I had my niece with me, and she was watching a whole lot of series on Dahmer. And then everybody thought I was dating Dahmer, so people were laughing at my saying I was dating Dahmer. I took a picture with his and then I was trying to put it on a blow-up doll, a customized blow-up doll, his face, and then send it off to one of my friends.
But Taylor insisted she wasn't a female Jeffrey Dahmer, claiming she'd only killed one person.
Nah. I mean, there's mother out there that, you really want to beef with hard. I mean, yeah, you want to murder mother, but, I mean, that's what other mother they be saying on my name, that I've killed more than one, but, man, I'm trying to work on this appeal, and get out.
She appeared far more bothered by the fact that she'd been caught than by the life she had taken. And when questioned about what comes next, Taylor hinted at plans for appeals and the possibility of reinventing her legal approach, still maneuvering, still strategizing, even from behind bars. Taylor is scheduled for another trial in October 2024, this time for allegedly attacking a correctional staff member. Even in custody, it seems she cannot avoid violent behavior. During the investigation, another disturbing detail surfaced: Taylor's apparent fixation on Jeffrey Dahmer, Wisconsin's most infamous serial killer. Her search history included multiple Dahmer-related queries around the time of the murder, and investigators uncovered a photo of her posing with an image of Dahmer displayed on her phone. When questioned about the connection, Taylor brushed it off with a casual explanation. "I had my niece," but Taylor insisted she wasn't some female Jeffrey Dahmer, claiming she had only taken one life, as if that somehow excused the horror of what she'd done. She downplayed the comparison, brushing it off like it was an exaggeration created by the media and prosecutors. Yet her actions, her attitude, and her disturbing interests painted a far darker picture. Even in the face of overwhelming evidence, she clung to the idea that she didn't belong in the same category as the killer she'd been obsessively researching. Her denial only highlighted how deeply disconnected she was from the consequences of her own brutality than you think. Because the truth is, individuals like Taylor don't simply vanish into prison walls. Their patterns, their psychology, and their capacity for violence echo far beyond a single courtroom. They remind us that danger doesn't always look monstrous at first glance. Sometimes it walks in wearing a polite smile, speaking calmly, playing the victim, weaving stories designed to lower defenses and blur judgment. Taylor's case forces us to confront an uncomfortable reality. Some offenders don't just break the law, they study it, exploit it, and manipulate every weakness within it. They weaponize sympathy, distort diagnoses, and turn mental health language into a shield. And while genuine mental health struggles deserve compassion, people like Taylor twist that compassion into a tool. As October's upcoming trial looms, one thing is clear: Taylor hasn't changed. She hasn't learned. She hasn't shown remorse. She continues her campaigns of blame, chaos, and denial, even while confined. Her story doesn't end with a guilty verdict, it evolves, escalating into new allegations, new victims, new performances. The justice system can lock up a body, but it can't always contain a mindset. And for people like Taylor Schabusiness, the most dangerous weapon they possess isn't the one they held during the crime. It's the one they wield every time they open their mouth. She moved in that TikTok clip like any ordinary teenager, kicking her legs playfully in a public restroom and flashing a carefree grin at the camera. But the truth was far darker. This teen girl was actually a 23-year-old woman pretending to be 14. She misled parents, manipulated young boys, and danced her way into their trust with a persona built entirely on lies. Every move, every smile, every post was part of an elaborate act that would soon lead to a stack of criminal charges involving minors. And eventually, the day came when a courtroom replaced her digital stage, and her performance came to an abrupt, permanent end. This is the chilling story of a TikToker who thought she could hide behind the face of a child to mask a dangerous scheme, a deception so calculated that it turned an entire social platform into her personal hunting ground. And wait until you hear the judge's reaction when the truth finally surfaced. This is the case of Alyssa Zinger. How her manufactured TikTok identity spiraled into one of Florida's most disturbing online predator investigations. If this is your first time hearing her name, prepare yourself. What happened next shows exactly how a simple dance app became a weapon for criminal manipulation. Before we break down her methods and the charges that stunned Tampa, make sure you're followed to Mr. Owl, where we uncover the darkest female-driven cases the mainstream rarely covers. And trust me, this one only gets more unsettling. To understand the courtroom bombshells, you need to see how a seemingly harmless young bakery worker turned her TikTok presence into a gateway to vulnerable teens. By day, Alyssa Zinger worked in a grocery store bakery in Tampa. Quiet, average, blending into the background like anyone frosting cakes or bagging pastries. But once the sun went down, she stepped into a different identity entirely. With nothing more than a smartphone and social media apps, she built a teenage persona designed to bypass parental vigilance and lure young people into private conversations. Her preparation was obsessive. She studied real teens, how they wrote, how they spoke, what they watched, who they followed. She practiced their slang, mirrored their habits, and perfected a digital mask convincing enough to fool not just kids but their families. Then she began her search. TikTok became her primary hunting ground, a place overflowing with the exact demographic she wanted. But Alyssa wasn't there for trends or music. She was there to pick targets. The first boy believed he was speaking to someone his own age. She found him in January 2023, quickly shifting their messages to Snapchat, where conversations vanish and monitoring becomes nearly impossible. Acting like a peer, she gained his trust, kept the charade alive for months, and met him repeatedly around 30 times, according to police testimony. But while that relationship continued, she was already cultivating her next target. By May 2023, she had entangled a second boy in the same deceptive pattern, but this time she went further. She fooled not only him but his family. She showed up at gatherings, visited his home, and was welcomed as a harmless teenage friend. This illusion lasted from May until October 2023, and that month, October, was the point everything came crashing down. Investigators later uncovered the truth. Alyssa had been recording these encounters illegally. She had been producing prohibited material and storing it. Worse, she planned to weaponize it. When the second victim decided to end the relationship in October, her sense of control collapsed. Instead of walking away, she retaliated. She went to his house claiming she needed to charge her phone, then secretly searched his device. What she found became ammunition for revenge. She distributed sensitive material to multiple people via Snapchat, triggering a wave of humiliation that spread across the boy's social circle. But her plan backfired. When the girl featured in one of those recordings discovered it was circulating among classmates, she reported it. A teenage girl walked into a Tampa police station in October 2023 and told authorities that someone named Alyssa Zinger was distributing illegal content featuring her. That single report cracked the case wide open. Detective Amanda Baranowski began digging and immediately found something troubling. There was no record of a 14-year-old by that name anywhere in the school system. No enrollment, no history, no homeschool records. But there was a 22-woman with the same name. And suddenly, everything clicked. What investigators uncovered next shook even seasoned officers. This wasn't a one-off lapse in judgment. It was a pattern, strategic, calculated, and ongoing for nearly a year. Alyssa had been juggling multiple minors simultaneously. While she manipulated one, she was scouting the next. She embedded herself in their friend groups, used one boy to access another, and created a network of victims who never realized they were being targeted by the same adult pretending to be a peer. The first boy who spoke to police described how she controlled him emotionally, how she yelled at him, threatened him, and tried to isolate him. He said she even threatened to have high schoolers attack him if he tried to leave her. And throughout all of this, she maintained her teenage act flawlessly, even in her threats. The psychological portrait that emerged was terrifying. Alyssa had immersed herself so deeply into middle school social dynamics that she could mimic them effortlessly. She knew their vulnerabilities. She knew what would convince their parents. She knew how to hide in plain sight, and she had been doing it long before authorities ever realized a crime was happening. One final discovery revealed just how long she had been perfecting her disguise. In July 2023, months before the investigation began, Alyssa and one of her victims were caught shoplifting at a Nordstrom store. Police body cam footage from that incident shows her sitting beside a boy who looks like a typical teen. But when you listen closely to the footage, you'll hear something that should have been an unmistakable warning sign, yet no one recognized it at the time.
So this girlfriend not your daughter? Okay. Have you contacted your parents?
Yeah, but I can't get a hold of her word.
Okay. Well, I gotta try to contact them. Because how old are you? 14.
The officer eventually asks if he should call her parents, and she slips deeper into character without hesitation. She fidgets, acting nervous in a way that feels genuine, but never crosses into real panic. Her performance is so smooth that the officer accepts everything she's saying, but then comes the moment that exposes just how practiced she truly was. When he runs her information and a 22-year-old Alyssa Zinger shows up in the system, he questions the mismatch. She answers instantly, offering a calm, plausible explanation, one that sounds reasonable but can't be verified on the spot.
You have a sister named Alyssa?
Yeah, a half-sister.
A half-sister?
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't have the same middle name, I'm assuming?
I don't have anyone else, my parents know I'm with him.
So I'm going to document that you're going home with them.
Okay.
Pay close attention to how she navigates this exchange. There's no fear, no hesitation. She stays completely composed. Every word is measured, offering just enough information to sound believable while avoiding anything that could raise doubts. It's clear she had rehearsed this exact scenario and knew precisely how to respond if anyone questioned who she really was. The officer accepts her explanation without suspicion. He notes that she'll be leaving with the boy and his father, and they're let go. But what happens immediately afterward in that footage exposes a deeper issue, one that shows how the family's own behavior unintentionally made her deception possible.
Alright, so Alyssa, you're gonna go home with... Do you have any questions? No? We're not gonna do this again? Sure? Dad told me you make money, and you could have spent $100. Alright? Alright, man, this is one shot. You get one shot to do this program. After this. There's no more. So let's just make smart choices, okay? All right, sir. Thanks, guys. Take care.
What's truly unsettling in this clip is how naturally Alyssa blends into the situation. There's no hint of fear, no sign she's worried her story might fall apart. She moves and speaks with the ease of someone who has lived inside this false identity for a long time. Someone who knows exactly how to pass as a teen in front of adults, even law enforcement. This wasn't an impulsive act, it was a role she had practiced. Hold on to that detail, because her composure becomes even more important when you see her later interactions with police during the November 2023 search of the Zinger home. Body cam footage from that day shows a household in chaos, but not for the reasons you might assume. It opens with officers calmly informing her parents that they're there to search the home and seize Alyssa's phone. Yet from the very beginning, it's obvious the family's perception of the situation is completely different from what investigators are actually dealing with.
The detective said nobody can go in the house.
Okay.
So
that's weird because I talked to my lawyer and he says you guys aren't under arrest. You guys aren't.
There's a search warrant for that. She told me she got a search warrant and nobody's allowed in the house.
For the phone or for my home?
Nobody's allowed in the house.
Pay close attention to this exchange because it exposes something significant about how the family viewed the situation. They're not responding like parents who've just learned their daughter may be involved in serious criminal behavior. Instead, they move and speak like people navigating a legal inconvenience focused on strategy, not shock. Their reaction suggests they see this as a problem to manage, not a horrifying revelation about their child.
We're not in the chase. We're not running, so.
But that's where we're at. I know it sucks.
This situation sucks. Me not going in my home right now, that's the least of my worries. I got a beautiful young daughter that's in a, this shouldn't be happening. She's got a lot of problems and mental issues and stuff, and it just sucks that, I don't know if you have kids, but...
Yeah, we have 2 kids. I have 2 kids, yeah.
Look closely at his behavior in this moment. He's already shaping the storyline that will later mirror her defense. She has difficulties. She has developmental challenges. She shouldn't be facing this situation. He frames her as someone being wronged, rather than someone under investigation for serious offenses. Instead of addressing the allegations head-on, he shifts the focus to portraying her as a victim, not a suspect.
Sorry to hear that, by the way.
Well, I mean, she got messed up with the wrong. Even though he's a lot younger, he is, put it this way, my daughter, my wife works for the federal government, 38 years, never been in trouble in her life, not a single thing. My daughter, the same thing. Me, stupid little shit when I was a kid. But we're good, honest people, hardworking people, and she just she's never been in trouble in her life, even though he's young. That's why we're in this situation. She never been in trouble in her life until she was 30 with him. And this.
Investigators quickly found that the father's claims about typical teenage behavior didn't line up with reality. He continued portraying his adult daughter as an innocent, defenseless victim, flipping the truth on its head in a way that's almost astonishing to watch. What makes it even more unsettling is how scripted his words sound. This isn't a parent in shock or disbelief. This is someone reciting a prepared narrative. When the detective arrives and they head inside to locate the phone, the situation becomes even more telling. The device appears to be dead, creating uncertainty about whether it can be powered on or accessed. And the father's response to this moment reveals even more about how he's trying to control the situation.
When they came in to look for that phone, there was an iPad and a phone on the table. I looked at it and she goes, "Is that the phone?" I said, "I do believe so." I say, "This is her phone here." Ha ha ha. No. I handed her the phone and said, "I do believe it." And I even said, if you watch the body cam, I said, "What model is this? I'm not sure. I got like a freaking 8.
He's deliberately creating a layer of distance, acting helpful, while making sure he isn't fully accountable for identifying or producing the right phone. It's a careful balance of cooperation without commitment, the kind of behavior you see when someone is protecting themselves rather than assisting an investigation. But then he makes a remark that exposes what's really driving his actions. His words reveal the mindset behind this selective cooperation, and it's not concern for the truth, it's concern for control.
Trying to be manipulative, and in fact, tell you this, if someone's trying to hide something, the phone was dead. I said, you want to take your phone and leave? Is what I could have said if I was not trying to work with you people. But what did I say? I bet you watched the cam. I said, ma'am, there's a charger right there. Go ahead and charge the phone.
He says this in a way that makes it sound like he's being cooperative, yet buried in his wording is a subtle message. He could have made things difficult if he chose to. He's positioning himself as the reasonable parent, while quietly signaling that he's aware of how much power he holds in this moment. But investigators later discovered the truth: the phone he handed over wasn't Alyssa's at all. It belonged to her mother, hadn't made a call since 2021, and didn't have a single social media app installed. When officers eventually questioned the family about the mismatch in later searches, they claimed Alyssa's actual phone had been lost, but the body cam footage from this first warrant makes it clear the switch wasn't an accident. It was intentional. Remember this detail about the phone because it shows just how far the family was willing to go to shield Alyssa from the fallout of her actions. And during that same search, there's another moment that lays bare the emotional dynamic inside this household. The father breaks down and says something that reveals how completely they've rewritten the reality of the situation in their own minds.
I say one good thing that's come out of this: we got our family back. You know, we finally got our daughter back. Where she lays with us, watches TV. She hangs out with us now, but she won't have a phone ever again.
Consider what he's expressing in that moment. The father actually frames his daughter's arrest as something that brought positive changes to their household. It's a revealing pattern, one that hints at complicated family dynamics when confronted with major legal trouble. They're not viewing Alyssa as an adult facing severe criminal accusations. They're treating her as someone who simply got into trouble and now needs to be shielded from consequences. But the most unsettling part of this footage isn't the parents' words, it's Alyssa's silence. She barely speaks at all. Instead, she allows her parents to justify, defend, and rationalize her behavior. She lets them absorb the pressure, explain the inconsistencies, and carry the weight of the investigation. It's clear she's used to others cleaning up after her. When officers returned in January 2024 with a second search warrant, this time to photograph her bedroom, the family's mindset became even more transparent. Months had passed, giving them time to fully grasp the seriousness of the case, yet their reactions showed that nothing had truly shifted. They still didn't see Alyssa as a perpetrator. They still saw her as someone who needed protecting. As the officer calmly outlines the purpose of the search, the family's responses make it clear that their perspective has remained unchanged from the very beginning.
Our crime scene picture, whenever she gets here, we're going to go through the house and we'll take pictures and document and stuff like that. And she'll also get a copy of, or she'll get a copy of the search warrant to take pictures and document of too, which I'll go ahead and just kind of review this with you now, okay? Are they gonna post these pictures though?
They don't post your pictures. This is for their investigation.
Okay, well...
There's nothing to be anybody's business.
My stuff, yeah.
That's nobody's business.
Even with serious charges hanging over her and months of investigation behind her, Alyssa's biggest worry is still her own privacy and how she'll be perceived. There's no hint of remorse, no acknowledgement of the harm done, and no empathy for the young people she targeted. Nothing suggests she grasps the severity of her actions. Instead, her focus remains entirely on protecting herself, her image, her comfort, her reputation.
They just got to do their job. They got to take pictures of what they need to do. And I think you guys should leave.
I can't.
Well, I mean...
No. They've surrounded the whole car. Like, I literally can't...
I don't think they meant it like that.
Well, there's 5 cars, so how do I back out?
Later in that same footage, she makes a remark that exposes just how oblivious she is to the severity of her circumstances.
I feel like I'm a murderer.
They got to protect. They don't know who here. They got to protect themselves. This is a crazy world. People are mental. They got issues. There's men probably out there that would do something stupid. You know what I mean? They got to protect themselves. You know what I mean?
But Alyssa's complaint makes something unmistakably clear. She doesn't view herself as a dangerous offender. In her mind, she's not someone who has caused real harm. She's simply a person caught in an awkward, unfair situation. That distorted self-image stayed with her throughout the legal process and became a major factor in how disastrously things unfolded for her in court. At one moment in the footage, while officers are searching another area of the home, you can hear Alyssa and her mother quietly talking about what's happening, and the conversation speaks volumes about how both of them interpreted the entire situation.
Did they hear a collapse? They all.
What, in her bedroom they do that? They do that?
Broken, and it's heavy.
I think their main focus is her.
Gonna collapse.
Yeah, they hear it in my room, not that.
That's what they're worried about. Hey, they're doing their job. A lot of crazy people out there. So, and a lot of people don't like police, you know? But that's not us. You know, like I said, we back you guys 100%. That's for sure. We have friends. And
Yeah, you're friends with a lot of police.
I have a lot of friends that are police, and we firefighters. And
He's attempting to paint them as a respectable, law-abiding family people who back the police as though that somehow lessens the gravity of what Alyssa has done. This kind of appeal to respectability is common in families facing serious criminal accusations, but it exposes a deep misunderstanding of how the justice system actually operates. Personal connections or a good reputation don't erase evidence. Yet the Zinger family clearly believed that their social standing should insulate them from real consequences. That belief became a major weakness once they entered the courtroom, signaling to the judge and prosecutors that they didn't fully comprehend the severity of the charges or the strength of the case against Alyssa. The most revealing body cam recording, however, came from a moment when the family didn't realize the camera was still running. By the time Alyssa appeared at her bond hearing in April 2024, the difference between the casual, almost dismissive attitude she displayed at home and the persona she presented in court was impossible to ignore. Judge Laura Ward oversaw the hearing, and her remarks about Alyssa's behavior quickly became some of the most widely discussed elements of the entire case.
Every time something happens that the state puts on that maybe you disagree with, you shake your head no. You don't seem to understand that the problem is not who recorded the video. The problem is you are in multiple videos with young boys. You are an adult. You are the problem here. Your actions on these boys are illegal, and it's not okay. Whether they took the video or you took the video, you are the only adult.
After months of deceit, layered lies, and calculated manipulation, the judge cut through everything with a single devastating truth. Alyssa Zinger was an adult who intentionally misled and exploited young people. All the excuses, defenses, and emotional performances evaporated in that moment. But the hearing exposed something even more explosive, something that stunned the community. Prosecutors revealed evidence suggesting that Alyssa's parents hadn't merely defended her out of confusion or denial. They had actively helped conceal her crimes. During the hearing, they argued that the phone handed over during the first search wasn't mistakenly provided, it was intentionally swapped to hinder the investigation. Judge Ward confronted this allegation directly, making it clear she understood exactly what that level of interference meant.
What I can't understand is when they are trying to help you to the extent that it interferes with a criminal investigation and to the extent that it helps you evade accountability and responsibility.
In court, jurors watched the body camera footage capturing the exact moment Alyssa's father handed officers a phone he insisted was hers. He never hinted it could be the wrong device, never suggested there might be another. When the actual phone conveniently disappeared, prosecutors argued this wasn't an innocent mix-up at all, it was intentional interference. The message was unmistakable. This case had grown far beyond Alyssa's actions. It pointed to a family willing to shield her, even at the cost of justice. During the bond hearing, the defense's approach made their upcoming trial strategy clear: shift responsibility away from Alyssa. Her lawyer emphasized claims of developmental delays, emotional struggles, and long-standing issues from years of bullying. They held up an old individualized education plan from high school as proof of her supposed limitations, hoping to redirect blame anywhere but toward the defendant herself.
I think it's clear from just the
content of the text messages. This is not a 22-year-old adult having communication with somebody who she saw as her equal.
But prosecutors quickly dismantled this argument. They noted that apart from the IEP, which can be issued for many mild learning needs, there was nothing in Alyssa's academic history suggesting genuine developmental impairment or an inability to understand consequences. What did exist, they said, was a long pattern of calculated behavior. Alyssa had sustained complicated lies across several relationships for months, navigated multiple social media accounts with precision, and consistently manipulated the emotions of the people she targeted. Even more damning, prosecutors reminded the court of a shoplifting incident earlier that year, during which Alyssa instantly fabricated a convincing story about a non-existent half-sister who supposedly shared her name. The explanation was detailed enough to momentarily mislead trained officers. With examples like that, the prosecutor dismissed the defense's claims outright, making it clear that Alyssa's actions reflected strategy, not incapacity.
This is not a 22-year-old child. This is an adult. They would argue there are no conditions of release reasonably sufficient to protect the community from the risk of physical harms to persons, and specifically to male individuals under the age of 18.
Judge Ward concurred, but her rationale stretched far past the possibility of Alyssa committing more offenses. What seemed to concern her most was Alyssa's startling disconnect from the reality of her own actions and inability, or refusal, to grasp the severity of what she had done.
He indicated that a video of himself was being circulated through Snapchat.
Did he know who was doing it?
Yes.
Who was that?
He identified the person as Miss Alyssa Zinger.
The bond hearing also featured testimony from Detective Amanda Baranowski, who revealed additional details about the extent of Alyssa's actions, information that had not been made public before. Detective Baranowski explained that investigators had found evidence of illegal encounters occurring repeatedly, sometimes only days after Alyssa first made contact with her victims. This was a critical point because it demonstrated how rapidly she escalated her behavior, directly undermining the defense's claims about reduced mental capacity. The detective further described the digital evidence collected, including messages and videos in which Alyssa pretended to be a teenager while clearly displaying the awareness and sophistication of an adult.
The case represents only one of the multiple juvenile male victims that Ms. Zinger was not only contacting and having messages with through social media, but also meeting and having actual contact with.
Detective Baranowski testified that when Alyssa was confronted about distributing the videos, she showed no remorse and no recognition of the damage she had caused. Her focus appeared to be solely on the personal consequences she might face. This striking lack of empathy for her victims became a consistent theme throughout the case and would play a significant role in the judge's bond determination. The hearing also shed light on the breadth of the investigation, including the potential for additional victims. The detective explained that authorities were still identifying possible victims and believed there could be others who had not yet come forward. The potential for more victims was especially alarming in light of the pattern investigators had already uncovered. When the bond hearing concluded, Judge Ward left no doubt she considered Alyssa a continuing danger to the community. With her ruling, Judge Ward made it unmistakably clear that this case wasn't about a misunderstood teen, it was about an adult who had systematically exploited young people through deliberate criminal deception. She also addressed the family's involvement, though she stopped short of bringing charges against Alyssa's parents. When asked whether the parents might face legal consequences, prosecutors declined to comment, stating only that the investigation remained ongoing. Alyssa was ordered to remain in jail without bond until trial, and was prohibited from contacting any alleged victims or accessing electronic devices. The aftermath of the bond hearing revealed the far-reaching impact of Alyssa's actions on the victims and their families. Court documents and police interviews showed that the psychological effects extended well beyond the immediate trauma. These individuals were forced to come to terms with the reality that someone they trusted, someone they believed was their peer, had been methodically deceiving and manipulating them. One victim explained to police that the relationship with Alyssa was stressful, affecting his grades and making daily life difficult. He described feeling trapped as she constantly tried to maintain contact and exert influence over him. The manipulation didn't stop there. He told authorities that Alyssa had also dated 4 other students at his school to provoke him and consistently inserted herself into his social life. He had no idea that all of of these interactions were part of a calculated pattern by an adult predator targeting his peers. The sense of isolation and confusion for these victims was profound. They couldn't confide in friends, many of whom were also victims, and they didn't recognize the warning signs as abuse, believing they were in normal teenage relationships. When the truth finally surfaced, they faced the added trauma of realizing that their understanding of trust, intimacy, and social boundaries had been built on lies. Victim testimony revealed just how meticulously Alyssa had crafted her persona. She mimicked teenage speech, interests, and even emotional responses. One victim described her as behaving like a teenager, having emotional outbursts, but with a calculated edge and inflated ego, a sense of invincibility, and a belief that no one could stop her. These teenage reactions were actually carefully designed performances intended to maintain her cover while asserting psychological control. The same victim detailed a recurring pattern of emotional manipulation: instant texting, crying, screaming declarations of hatred, followed by apologies and reconciliation. She oscillated between extremes, creating a cycle of anger, rejection, and affection that is a classic hallmark of psychological abuse. When wielded by an adult masquerading as a peer, this strategy became a precise and intentional method of control. The victim described feeling trapped in this chaotic dynamic, a testament to how effectively Alyssa maintained power over her targets. When Alyssa eventually took the stand in her own defense, her strategy dramatically backfired. She appeared articulate, coherent, and fully aware of her actions, directly contradicting every claim that she suffered from diminished mental capacity or developmental delays. Her courtroom demeanor highlighted the stark contrast between the persona she had used to manipulate victims and the adult accountability she could not escape.